The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Alcyon Creative. Hello and welcome to another episode of Dad vs. Daughter. I'm Tim the Dad.
I'm Becca the Daughter.
And today we are playing Argonauts.
This is by Alcyon Creative.
And this is for 1 to 4 players.
Wait, 1 to 4?
Yeah, 1 to 4.
I got homework to do, so you're on your own, buddy.
Seriously?
Yeah. If it's 1 to 4, have at it.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to play this game solo. So this is like Jason and the Argonauts, if you're familiar with that mythology. So I'm going to play it solo now. I want to point out up front that I am going to be playing with changes that have been made for the 2nd edition to Argonauts. Now, Alcyon Creative was kind enough to include the new cards, the mock-ups for those, as well as some of the new abilities that 3 of the gods have. So if you're familiar with the 1st edition, these things are just slightly different. So for the 3 gods, Demeter is going to give us, when we roll for Divine Intervention, 1 extra ration. Aphrodite is going to give us 1 gear, and Hestia is going to give us 1 Argonaut. So the way we win Argonauts is we need to travel from our home port all the way around, pick up the Golden Fleece up here, come back this way, and then return here. And I will say that I have not yet won this game, and I've probably played it 8 to 10 times, and I've played it on both the normal and hard difficulty. So let me talk about that for a minute, because the way the rule book has you set up the game initially, that's the hard level. And the game is pretty hard to begin with. But the changes between hard and normal are not really that many. So one thing that we do is we start off in normal, we get 1 of the materials, and we're going to use that to repair the Argo when it gets damaged. The other thing we do is we start with 1 favor of the gods, because normally we would not get that to begin with. We also start with 1 random gear or equipment. So this is going to give us 1 extra mysticism. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. And I do want to also point out that you can see the representation of the Argo. Now, if you don't want to flip over the tiles, because I actually think this is the coolest way. When you flip this over, you'll see that it starts to show damage, and if you flip over the 4th one, it shows the skull and you lose. If you don't want to use those, that does give you a token that you can track basically here, there, and you're dead. But because I prefer to be visual, I like to use these tiles. So that's what I'm going to be using here. Now, to set up, I'm also going to use the mini expansions. So the mini expansions are explained on the back of the book. So I'm going to be playing with Cestus and the Caledonian Boar, and I'm also going to be shuffling in all these extra heroes. Now, the other thing that I didn't talk about as far as the difference between the hard and the normal is that we also remove a couple of the cards. We have an Argo event deck, and we have an exploration deck. And what we're going to do is we are going to remove 1 of the copies of Thunderstorm and 1 of the copies of Ambush. So you can see that there's 1 in each thing. So that's going to hopefully make things a little bit easier. Now, the other thing is I am not going to attempt to pronounce any of the characters' names other than like Jason, Hercules, the easy ones. Nor am I going to try to pronounce the port cities, because frankly I would just be butchering the names, and I don't want to do that. The other last bit of setup is I have shuffled all of the hero cards together, so you can see we have a bunch. I'm actually going to deal out 14 of these, and then I'm going to add Jason and Hercules in. So let's just take 14 off the top, and I'm just going to put the other ones aside. Then I will add Hercules and Jason in here, and I will give these a good riffle shuffle. Now, the rules say that Jason and Hercules cannot be in the same squad because we're going to have 4 squads, and you'll notice I have 4 sets of the resting and exhausted areas there. When I use a hero, then he is going to become exhausted. When I use another hero, he's going to push the exhausted hero from exhausted over to resting. And when I put a third one in, the resting guy is going to come back into my hand. I'm going to try to remember to make sure that I point that out on each turn. The other last bit of setup is we need to put Medea, and no, it's not Tyler Perry's Medea, and the pursued card. Those are going to go over here on the side of the board. I'm going to put them over here by the port that's spelled AEA, because that's when those are going to come into play. There's 2 ways that we can lose the game. One is if the Argo is completely destroyed, because then we become shark bait. Hoo-ha. We don't want that to happen. The other way we lose is if our Argonaut track goes all the way down to 0. That means we have no crew left, so we are done. So that is the setup. Now let me tell you about what the certain things on the cards mean. When we get to certain parts on the board that have a red circle on there, those mean that we are going to do a legendary encounter. Now, for instance, this is the Harpies legendary encounter. This shows what we need in fighting ability in order to beat them. We would need a 9. And then this is kind of our stealthy, sneaky ability, and we would need 6 fight and 4 stealth. You've got the name here. You've got basically what it is. And if you look up, this is Phineas's punishment. And if you're familiar with the 1963 movie Jason and the Argonauts, the character of Phineas was played by Patrick Troughton. Now, those of you who are Doctor Who fans will recognize that Patrick Troughton was the 2nd Doctor. Just a little bit of trivia I wanted to throw out there. But in this case, we've got things that we have to do. So we bait the beast, we reduce rations by 1, and I'll talk about how we reduce rations in a minute. And then we have what we get if we beat her or beat them. We're going to gain a relic, and if we lose, we're going to lose 2 Argonauts and 2 rations. So that's not something that we want to have done. So like I said, the red spaces that you see on the board, that's where those take place. And let me just grab Medea's card here. She's probably the easiest to show you kind of how to read this card. Okay, so she has certain skills, and she has numbers next to the skills to show how powerful she is. So this one is mysticism, so she's a 3 there, which is really good. She has 2 of the stealthy ability, which isn't bad, and then she has 1 diplomacy. We see her name, and we see the type of hero that she is. She is a mystic hero. We have down at the bottom, this is her ability. So in this case, it is exhaust Medea to reduce selected difficulty number by 2. So that is going to come in quite handy when we have really high-powered things that we need to defeat, and we want to knock it down a bit. And then last, down here, we have either we have Hera and we have Zeus. So you'll see Hera is in blue. Hera is going to basically favor us, and when we roll Divine Intervention, and I'll talk about that in a minute, and if Hera comes up, we get to add 1 to one of our abilities. If Zeus comes up, we have to subtract 1. So we never want to see the whatever we have in red come up. Also, when we get to that port, the port action is going to tell us that we need to replace Hercules with Medea. So kind of keeping in with the storyline, Hercules goes off and he is not part of our group any longer, but Medea is there for the rest of the game. At the same time, we also will put in this pursued card into our Argo deck. So you'll notice it has the blue backing. And then if this is drawn, we have a separate card that we will use in order to basically figure out what we need to do with this. Whenever we get to the green spaces on the board, those are ports. And we have cards. The artwork is all the same, but it'll have the port name, and then it'll have the port actions that we can take. So in this case, this first port here, we can actually do 4 different actions, or we have 4 different actions available to us. We can only do 2 of those actions. We get to pick which 2 we want, but that's probably going to be determined by which heroes that we have that certain ability or what their class is. So you'll notice, like for exploration, it says exhaust a scout and draw an exploration event card. So we have to have a scout in order to be able to do that. Same with some of the other ones. The hearing, exhaust a diplomat. Temple, exhaust a mystic. So, and then you'll notice here's another port. It only has 2 options. So not every port is the same. We have to decide what it is we want to be able to do with those ports. Now we also have a whole stack of these trader tiles. So whenever we take the trade action at a port, we're going to flip one of these over and it's going to show us what we can buy. In this case, we can buy 1 material for $2 and he has 2 of those in stock. So we can only buy up to what the max are. Other ports have, so in this case, he has food. So you can buy 1 food for $1 and equipment for the price in the item. He's got 2 food and he's got 3 items. So in that case, what we would do is we would take the top 3 items off of the item thing here. We flip them over and figure out what we have. And then here's how much it costs in gold. And then here is what that ability gives us. So this would give us a stealth, this would give us 2 mysticism, this would give us 1 seamanship. And then before we roll for divine intervention, we decide if we're going to use these, and then these are taken out of the game. So when do we do divine intervention? Well, whenever we have certain events like pirates or basically cards that look like ambush here that have this, you see these numbers on there, or our legendary encounters like that, we are going to be rolling for divine intervention. So what we do is after we figured out what heroes we're going to commit to that endeavor, we're going to roll the d12, and then whatever number comes up on that, we're going to look over here on our god chart and figure out which god is in play. So a 2 is Hera. So let's figure out who our starting squads are going to be. Okay, so in a solo play game, you are actually going to be controlling all 4 squads. So here is squad 1. Squad 1 are these 4 gentlemen. Squad 2 is going to be led by Jason and these other 3 gentlemen. Squad 3 has Hercules and these other guys. And lastly, Squad 4 I know I just wrecked their name, except for Orpheus and Telamon. Those are some easy ones. Idas. All right, so we're going to start, and those are all going to be in the various hands here. And I know you won't be able to see those on camera when they're not in play, but I wanted you to be able to see them when they are in the exhausted and resting areas. So I think that does it. So let's get ready to play. So the first thing we do at the beginning of every turn is we decrease our rations by 1 because, you know, you got to feed your people. And then we will move the Argo. So our first movement is to the port of Lemnos. So Lemnos has 4 things that we can do. We can go to the trader, the temple, we can go to a hearing, or do exploration. So first thing I want to do is I want to look and see if I have any cards in any of my squads that help me with certain things. And I know that I have at least one. This guy. I love using him whenever I go to the trader because his ability is when visiting a trader, you can exhaust him to buy 1 item with no cost. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to put him right there just to show that I'm exhausting him. So since we're going to the trader, we're going to flip this merchant tile and we see that we can buy food for $1 and we have 3 items that we may purchase. So let's go ahead and flip over the 3 items to see what we have for sale. Okay, we can buy a cloak for stealthiness, we can buy a map for +1 seamanship, or we can get the golden urn for 2 mysticism. And I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that urn for 2 because that matches, we've got another one over there already. So that was for free for him. I don't think I'm going to buy either one of these. So these are going to get discarded. But I can buy up to 2 food. Now, I can only store 1 extra food because I can only go up to 9. So I'm going to spend 1 gold and move that back up there. So I have 1 port action left. There's really no reason for me to go on exploration at the moment. I could go. Let's go to the temple. Do I have any mystics? So I'm looking, and I cannot go here because I've already used a hero from that squad. Looking at my other cards here. And let's see. So I'm going to use Laertius. And because he's a jack of all trades, so he basically gives us 1 of everything. So since he is a jack of all trades, he actually has every one of the different classes. So I'm going to use him as a mystic, and I'm going to pay a gold. So go from 5 down to 4, and I will gain 1 favor of the gods. So that puts me back to 2, or up to 2, because that's very important, because the favor of the gods allows you to cancel certain events, because the gods are always controlling what's going on here. So I've used my 2 port actions. Time to now go on to the next turn. I'll decrease my rations by 1, and I will move to the next port. Now at the next port, I only have 2 options. I can go to the temple, or I can explore. And I think what I will do I want to explore? Do I have any? I need a mystic in order to be able to go to the temple. And I do still have a mystic. So I'm going to use this guy. And normally they tell you don't move these over, and that's because until the end of the turn, because of certain timing issues. But I find that it's actually easier for me to remember. So I'm just going to use him, and it's going to actually cost me 2 gold in order to gain a favor of the gods. So I'll go from 4 to 2, and I will buy that extra favor because, money can't buy you love, but it can buy you a favor of the gods. So I could go explore if I have a scout, which I do have a scout. And this scout says he's a tracker. And when he's exhausted for exploration, I can draw a second exploration card and choose which one to resolve. So I'm going to use him. So I'm just going to move that guy over there. I usually kind of keep him down a little bit just so I know which ones I've used. So I will draw 2 exploration cards and figure out which one I want to use here. So I can either do feast or seduction. Well, seduction is going to mean I'm going to lose one of my Argonauts, so that one's gone. So I'm going to have a feast. Now it says you may exhaust heroes for their diplomacy, and you gain 1 food for every 4 diplomatic points. So do I have any diplomacy guys left? I only can get 1 food, and I actually have Orpheus. He's a pretty good diplomat here. So he has 4. I only need 1 food, and for 4, I will use him, and I will gain that ration back. So that gets discarded. That's all my turn. I just push these guys up to the top to show that now that I've used those, and pay my ration, and move on. Now I have my first legendary encounter. That's with the Harpies. So I need to figure out what is the best way to defeat them. But first, I have to bait the beast, so I have to reduce my rations by 1. So take that down a notch, and then figure out, do I want to fight, or do I want to do some fight and some stealth? So let's see exactly what it is that I have at my disposal here. So I'm going to use him because his ability, he's the king of the... He's a king. And he gets +1 added to his chosen skill during a legendary encounter. This is a legendary encounter. So he would be a 3. And I need to get up to 9. Well, I've got Hercules. So Hercules is 4. So that would already be at 7. I would just need to come up with 2 more. Let's go ahead and let's use Telamon because he adds 2. And I think I want a little bit of a fudge factor there. So let's use this guy here. So I'm actually going to rotate these guys out just to show. And move that over there. Okay, that's the best way that I can keep track of this. Okay, so I have 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. And the god that's going to hurt me is Hera, Artemis, Hera, or Poseidon. So I don't want Hera to come up. I don't want a 2 because then I will fail. So I got a 7. 7 is Ares. So nobody was cursed by Ares. So I will pass. I will beat that, beat the Harpies. So I'm going to gain a relic. And my relic is I get some kind of dagger, which is going to give me 3 mysticism. So that's not bad. I'm loaded for mysticism over there. So that's a good thing. So that concludes my legendary encounter. Just move these guys up to show that I have used them. Pay my ration, and we move on to our next legendary encounter, which I remember this from the movie. Remember, it looked like a guy that was standing in a bathtub with the rocks. So if I beat him, I'm going to get a favor of the gods, which I'm already maxed out at, and Argo's going to take a hull damage. And then if I lose, then the Argo's going to take 2 damage. I need 8 seamanship in order to beat him, or 5 seamanship and 4 mysticism. And I'm getting ready to go out into the waters, so I might just want to use sparingly my sailing ability. I would need 5. I have noticed that I don't have Argos in this playthrough. Well, I can do it. So put him there, and then Jason, you're going to have to go up here. Use Laertes. And this guy. Okay, so I have 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's see, who's going to hurt me? Athena, Zeus, Poseidon, or Apollo. So at worst, I'm only going to be down 1. So I can't lose it in sailing, so I need to make sure that I have at least 5 mysticism. So I'm going to go ahead, because I don't like to lose guys if I don't have to. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use these 2 things to get 5 mysticism. So let's go ahead and roll for divine intervention. So I get a 6. 6 is Artemis. So I am safe there. So these are going to be discarded. I would get a favor of the gods, but I'm maxed out for that. And the Argo is going to get damaged. So flip that over. Okay. So I'll move these guys up to show that I've used them. Pay a food and move on. So now I'm on my first Argo event card, and I get Fog. So you may spend a favor of the gods to skip this, because otherwise the Argo's either going to take a damage, I'm going to lose 2 food, or I lose an item. So I don't want to lose anything, so I'm going to go ahead and use a favor of the gods. So that takes me down to 2, and that event is done. So move on to the next turn, decrease my rations, move, and now I am in a port. So let's get to that port card and figure out what it is we can do. So I can do a couple of different things. I can go to the trader, the shipyard, the healer, hearing, or exploration. Well, I know that I do need food, and I need it pretty badly. So I am going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go explore, and I'm going to explore with this guy because he's my tracker. So he's going to let me look at 2 of the, oops, he's over here. He's going to let me look at 2 of the exploration cards and figure out which one I want to use. Okay, this is a situation where I have actually 2 things that are not going to be any good to me. The recruitment says exhaust a diplomat and roll, and I can recruit Argonauts, but here's the thing, I'm already full up. You'll notice that my Argonaut track is already maxed. The other is the ambush, and I don't have enough fight, and I do not have enough of the stealth in order to defeat that, so I don't want to lose 2 Argonauts, so I'm just going to do the recruitment. And since I have to do that card, I look and see what diplomat I have that I want to use, and I'm going to go ahead and use I'll use Orpheus. So move that over there, and just for posterity's sake, I get a 2, so it's a 6. I would actually get 1 recruit, which I can't. I'm already maxed, so I will just discard those. So these guys are done. Move them up, and pay my ration. Move the Argo, and I have the Wrath of the Gods. So I don't really like this card. It says you may donate a relic to skip this event. However, I do not have any relics left. I used my relic already. So I have to exhaust 1 or more of my mystics and add their mystic total there. And this is the stuff that's going to happen. And it's all bad. But this is one of the 2nd edition cards. So you'll notice this is a little different if you're used to that 1st edition. So I need to come up with a bunch of mysticism here. So let's see, what mystics do I have? I have this guy, which is a 3. Actually, he may be my only mystic that I have left. He is. So he's going to come down. So I'll use him. None of my other guys are mystics at all. So he provides 3 mysticism. It doesn't do any good to use that to add 1, because 2 to 5, I am going to lose 1 on the Argo, or the Argo is going to take 1 damage, which is not good. And I am going to lose 2 Argonauts. So slide that track down 2. So that is not good. Okay, so let's decrease my ration and move the Argo into a port. So this port has 4 options I can do. One is to actually repair the Argo for 1, which is what I do want to do. Looking for my sailors here, I only have 1 sailor available, this guy here, so he will go there. I will spend my materials, which is my last material, but I'll be able to flip this over. So the Argo's only got 1 damage on it. And then let's go hunting, I think, because I do need food. There's no trader there, so that's not going to do me any good. So I'm going to use this guy, and I could just use his ability and not pay a food the next round, but I do have the option or the chance of actually getting more food. So I'm going to use him, move that to there, show he's exhausted, and draw a thing here. Hunting. Okay, so this is good. So may the goddess Artemis guide our arrows. So I'm going to roll the d12 and add the scout's stealthiness. His is 2. So hopefully I do better than a 2, which I got a 6. So that's an 8. So 5 through 11, I'm going to get an extra ration. So all kind of worked out about the same. So that goes away, and that is my turn. So move these guys up to show that they are done, pay a ration, and move on to the next ocean space. And I have pirates. So enemy sails on the horizon, prepare the crew. So if I beat the pirates, I'm going to get 2 gold and a food, which is good. If I lose, I'm going to take a damage to the Argo and lose an Argonaut. So can I fight them? What is the best way? Well, I've got Hercules, and Hercules is going to go away in the next place. So let's go ahead, and we're going to use him. So I'll just show there, the Hercules is there. Now, I have, on this squad, I have Castor and Polydeuces, or Pollux. These guys were twins. Interesting story, I'll let you figure it out. But they both are going to cause me to roll the d12, and a 1 through 8, nothing is going to happen. If I use Castor, a 9 through 12, I'm going to lose an Argonaut. And if I use Polydeuces, then a 9 through 12, I'm going to lose a ration. I would rather lose an Argonaut at this point instead of losing a ration. He's going to provide me with 3, which would be 7. I would actually be doing pretty good. So let's go ahead and we're going to use him. So I'm going to put him right there, and I'll roll for him immediately. And I got a 6. That is a 6, right? Oh, no, it's a 9. So 9, I lose an Argonaut. Oh, that wasn't good. Okay, so I am at 7. I need 1 more at least. Do I want to use... I'm going to use Telamon, and he's going to give me 2. So that's going to be 6, and 3 is 9. So Athena, Hera, and Poseidon are the ones that are going to hurt me. So I got a 6, which is Artemis, so I'm good. Artemis doesn't give us anything else. So I will get 2 money, so go from 2 to 4, and get a ration. So that is good. So bye-bye, pirates. Okay, so now that we are moving on to the next place here, pay my food, and we are at Aya. So, and I told you something special happens at Aya. And I'll just show you the card there. So you'll see special. Upon arrival, remove Hercules from the game and replace him with Medea. So Hercules, let's see, these guys were used. So Hercules goes away, and Medea actually goes into the spot wherever Hercules was at, which is right there. Now, the other thing we also do is we take that pursued card that we set aside, and that is now going to go into our Argo event deck. So we're just going to put that in and give that a quick little shuffle. Okay, so we put that back. So we are at the port. What is it we can do here? We can draw a merchant card. So we only have 2 things, so we might as well. And we can get materials. We can pay 4 and get up to 2. I have 4. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay 2, and I am just going to get 1 materials there. And then exploration. Do I have any scouts left? Well, I have Laertius because he's a jack of all trades. It's going to be a while before I get to any port, so I'm going to use this guy who I always like to use him in a port, but I'm going to use him now because he is a scout and he's got 3 stealth. So I'm going to use him and flip over. Okay, so we've got a lush forest. So it says search for nature's gifts. I'm going to roll the d12 and add his stealth ability. So he is at a 3, and let's see what we get. 3 and 6 is 9. 9 will actually give us 1 material and 1 food. So that's pretty good. Okay, so I've done everything I could. And let's move on. Pay my ration, and now I am at the Dragon's Teeth. Now, I do want to point out that I love the art on this card because this is the one thing out of the whole game. Well, there are a couple other things, but this in particular reminds me so much of the Jason and the Argonauts movie at the end when they're fighting the skeleton soldiers. So really like that card. So I need 9 fight or 5 stealth and 5 mysticism. So I don't know that I actually have. Do I have enough fight? I could use him, and I would have 3 there. And another 2 with Jason would be 5, and I would still be 4 shy. And can I do it on stealth alone? Well, I need stealth and mysticism, and I don't have enough of any of that. All right, so can I even fight him? So I'm going to try. So let's go ahead and get our fighters in here. Okay, so I don't have to roll for anybody. He gets +1 combat, pirates, hostile waters, or ambush, which so he's not going to get his ability. So 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it anyway. Actually, I can. Hermes. Hermes would give me the extra 2 that I need. So Hermes is 11. So I want to see an 11 here. Come on, 11. And no, I get a 2, which is Hera. So Hera actually curses him, helps Jason, so that's kind of a wash. And Hera doesn't help over there either. So I'm going to fail, so that means I lose 2 Argonauts. So just like in the movie, the skeleton soldiers kill my Argonauts. So that's no bueno. All right, so that encounter is over. Move these guys up to show they are truly exhausted. Pay that food. Move on to the next thing, which is the dragon. So the dragon, the good thing about this is he's the guardian of the Golden Fleece. If I win, I'm going to get the Golden Fleece and a relic. If I lose, I'm still going to get the Golden Fleece, but I'm going to lose 2 Argonauts. And I've been losing Argonauts like crazy. So I don't want to do that. It's going to cost me 10 fight, 5 stealth, and 6 mysticism. Not sure that that is going to work out very well. And for starters, I'm not really strong in mysticism. Let's see, 6 mysticism, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to be down 1 mysticism anyway. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose this because there's no way that I can't get the fight, and I can't get everything else that I need. So I am going to lose. So I'm going to take the Golden Fleece and put that there, and I will lose 2 Argonauts. So that takes me down to 2. So I am really hurting because when you run out of food and can't feed them, then your Argonauts start dying off. So this is not really a good sign. So I've lost to the dragon, but I'm going to use his ability, which says if I exhaust him, I don't reduce rations next round. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exhaust him so I don't have to pay a ration. So that's going to help. The only other problem is we are going to be at sea. So that is not good. So moving on, I don't pay because of his ability. And I move and do an Argo event. Dead Calm. You can use a favor of the gods to skip this, which I will do because that is not a good card. Do not like that. Now I have to use my last food and move over, and let's hope I get something good here. Whoops. Cestus. The Scourge of Poseidon has risen from the black depths. Resolve the Cestus boss card. Okay, so I look over here, and here is his boss card. Now, you'll notice that victory, I'm going to gain 3 rations and a relic, so it'd be really good if I can slice him up, because then I can eat him. If I lose, then I'm going to lose 2 Argonauts and take 2 hull damage, which I only have 2 Argonauts left, so I do not want to lose. I want to basically beat that guy into a pulp. What can I do? Can I come up with 9? Well, I'm going to be... I really need 6 seamanship because of the -1 on the Argo. And that's going to be a hard thing to come up with. I need 9 fight. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to use the Golden Fleece right now and flip that over to the black side, and that is going to revive an Argonaut. Because I do not see how I'm going to be able to beat him. I don't think I can come up with enough seamanship. I would need 7 seamanship, and I just don't have that. Let's see, I would have 1, 2, 3. I could use Orpheus to add 2 to a selected hero's skill. Wow. And I would need 3 mysticism. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to beat him on that. So can I come up with 9 fight and 6 seamanship? No, there is no way that I can beat him. So unfortunately, I am going to lose 2 Argonauts, and the Argo is going to take damage. Now, do I have anything that is going to help me? I could exhaust him. Oh, that's the other thing, is I need to roll for divine intervention, even though I can't actually commit anybody because it's not going to do me any good. I will go ahead and roll, and I got an 8, which actually gives me a ration. So that will keep me alive for 1 more turn, because 8 is Aphrodite. Or no, Aphrodite gives me a gear, not a ration. So what did I get? I got a ring, which big deal. Ring's not going to help me. So yeah, so not good. And I've got to flip these guys over. So the Argo is in peril. And there's nothing else I can do. So I can't pay my food. I lose an Argonaut. 0. End of game. I would like to say that that's the worst I've gotten beat at this game, but frankly, it's not, because I've lost, I think, 1 step closer to that, or 1 step back from that is actually my worst. Normally, I've been dying up somewhere around here, and either it's because I've run out of food and that makes me lose all my Argonauts, or the Argo has been destroyed. So yeah, this actually was not a very good showing on my part. But you can see how challenging this game really is. But I'll save that for my review, since this was the Trophy Award presentation, and I'm giving it to that king that basically sent me on to this adventure. So let's get to what I think of the solo game. You'll hear me give these exact same thoughts, or pretty close, when Megan and I play the actual dad versus daughter of this, instead of it just being dad's solo play on it. But that's okay, because you may not watch that one, or you may not watch this one. So just right off the bat, love the artwork on the cards. They're really, really good. Except Jason. Jason kind of reminds me of Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith a little bit. But all the other artwork on the cards is really great. I really like the attention to detail that they have on those. The components themselves, I mean, the Argo here, I mean, that's real thick cardboard. I love having, flipping that over to show the good side and the damaged side. The art on all the other cards, the Argo event cards, they're really cool. Like that, like the ones that are on the exploration. The board itself is nice. It kind of has a rough texture to it, which in this case really works good, because these don't then slide if you bump it a little bit. And all the tokens, I want to point out, are a pretty good thick cardboard, so that's nice. But because of that rough texture, they don't slide all over the place. So a little bit of bump, it's not going to do much damage there. Like I said, the second edition, I know they're going to do some different things with the board. I don't know if it might be to change some of the names to be totally in English, because like here you have the Sirens, but there you have a different name, and I'm assuming that's in Greek. But yeah, let's look at some of these other cards that we didn't get a chance to look at here. I mean, these really great artwork. But the art on the board itself is really cool. Not much that I can actually complain about, other than the fact that this game is hard. And I played this on the normal level. And when I died over here, I was actually playing on the harder level. So, you just never know. It's the combination of the heroes that you have, which squads they're in, because that way that they all kind of mesh and interact, which ones have the available skills at the right time, that is a key factor, which leads into the replayability of this because with 25 different hero cards and you're only using 16 per game, well, 17 really because of Medea and Hercules swapping out, you are going to have a lot of different experiences. And sometimes you're not going to get very far because your squads are not going to be very good. I personally did not like the way this set of squads worked out, just based on the squads I've had in the past, because I think they've been stronger. I've had my sailors and my fighters that were more spread across all those. I mean, this squad here, this was kind of a killer because this had all my heavy hitters with the exception of Hercules. I mean, Polydeuces is 3. This sailor, he's 2. Castor he's 3 in fight, and the king here, he gets +1, so he basically has 3 fight going into a legendary encounter. And typically, I've been able to actually have other equipment available to me. And again, the replayability, you never know which ones of these are going to come up because they don't all have food. Like these 2 have food, this has an item, food and materials, materials and items, and that one's just food. So you just don't know. And I think the more experience that you get with the game, the better you're going to be because you're going to know what you're going to have available at the ports. You're going to kind of get a better feel for, hey, these are the things you need to focus on. Although, like I said, this is somewhere around my 10th game that I've played of this solo, and I still haven't beat it. So also, you want a game that's going to be challenging. I wouldn't say that this is over hard because I know that other people out there that they've talked about the game kicked their butt, and then after so many games they finally won, and you'll have that sense of accomplishment. I think I know when I finally beat this, I'll post it on our Facebook page and I'll say, hey, I finally won. I don't know when that's going to be because I've been playing the heck out of this, so I might let this sit a while and come back, and maybe Megan will play with me at that time too, because right now I'm making all the decisions, but I'm making the decisions based on which heroes I have available in the squads. So that's where that comes into play. The whole exhausted and resting, being able to cycle through when you have cards that you can't use that you need to use at certain points. Again, with the familiarity of the game, you're going to know, oh, I really want to save him because I'm going to be going to port next time and I want to be able to use his port ability. Or I know that I'm going to be going into battle and I really want to have this guy because he's got a lot of fight. Or I want these sailors because there are a lot of Argo encounter spaces that you're going to have to deal with where seamanship really comes into play. So just a lot of things. Really like the game though, even though like I said, it's beat me down quite a bit. It's been a fun journey because I really liked the 1963 movie as a kid. And this is the time of year when I always seem to catch it on TV. So maybe there's a bit of nostalgia that's working there with the time of the year that I'm playing this as well. And I like mythology. As a kid in school, that was always one of my favorite things to study is when we would do that. Now, granted, like I said, I can't name most of these guys, and I didn't want to butcher their names up. I don't remember exactly everything that they did, what their legends are, and all that. But that's another thing that you can do. You can go down the rabbit hole and say, oh, well, yeah, now I know this guy did this, or this guy was famous for that. So a lot of interesting things about this game. If you like mythology, if you like hard solo games, because I would say this is a harder game, but it's easy to play. You give a ration, you flip a card pretty much, or you take a port action, or you do a legendary encounter, and that's it. So I do know that for the second edition, they are going to be launching a Kickstarter at some point. I don't know when. My representative from the company did not give me a date on that, but he did, like I said, sent along the updated card text for the second edition, as well as told me about the 3 gods that basically are going to give you favors on that. So I think that's about all I have to say on it. My voice is getting a little raspy here. So, Megan and I will play this again, or play this at some point for the channel. But right now you can see how it plays solo. So we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.